Hello, Namaskar, and a very good evening to all the viewers watching our session out there. This is Simran Singh, and you are watching this particular live telecast of NCERT on eVidya channel number 6 to 12. Besides, we have so many different mediums through which you all can connect with us and you can participate in our live interactive session. One of the mediums is our YouTube channel, and you all are well versed with it. It is NCERT Official. So it's around 4 p.m. on your watch, and regularly from 4 till 5 p.m. we have our special segments for all of you. So once again, I would like to take the moment to welcome all our viewers in our series running on Cyber Jaagrookta Diwas. The Ministry of Home Affairs is implementing a scheme known as the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, or I4C, to deal with cyber crimes in a coordinated and comprehensive manner. In order to create awareness among students of schools, colleges, teachers and parents, it is proposed to observe Cyber Jaagrookta Diwas on the first Wednesday of every month. And for the month of February 2023, CIET NCERT has planned a series of sessions on the theme Combating Cyber Crimes. And today, with regard to that, our topic of conversation is ransomware and malware attacks. Let me also provide you a brief of the 4 days trainings that we are going to provide to all our viewers in context of Cyber Jaagrookta Diwas. On day 1, that is on first, we discussed more about cyber crimes concept and need for awareness. Then the day 2, it is about ransomware and malware attack, and today is the day 2. And on day 3, we will be discussing more on phishing and financial frauds. And also on the 4th day of our conversation, we will provide you more highlights about online sexual abuse. Before proceeding in the conversation, I have an important piece of information for all of our viewers regarding G20. We are proud that India assumed the G20 presidency and will convene the G20 Leaders Summit for the first time in the country in this year, that is 2023. The nation is deeply committed to democracy and multilateralism. India's G20 presidency would be a watershed moment in its history, as it seeks to play a very major role by finding pragmatic global solutions for the well-being of everyone, and in doing so, manifesting the true spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, or the world is one family. Let's get back to our conversation on the series that is being run on Cyber Jaagrookta Diwas. Here we are also joined by a guest, so let me introduce you to the guest of today's evening. We have with us Ms. Arushi Chopra ji. Namaskar ma'am, good evening.
Namaste, good evening.
We welcome you in this conversation. Ma'am is an associate lawyer with SAID Associates. She practices cyber laws, intellectual property and media laws. Further, she also advises on regulatory changes in the legal frameworks. Moreover, she writes and researches on cybersecurity and emerging laws and advises on online safety practices. A very warm welcome to you in this conversation.
Thank you.
I would also like to apprise our viewers that if you are watching this particular session through television and you have any queries or doubts in mind, then you can always feel free to contact us at this number that is flashing on your screens. It is 8800440559 and a specific training mail desk help ID for all of you. It is training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in. So let's begin our conversation on ransomware and malware attacks. So Arushi ma'am, in the first place, I'll request you to inform our viewers briefly about what are we going to discuss today in this session.
Yeah, sure. So as you know, as you all know that, cyber crimes are increasing day by day. So that's why it has become really important to, understand how these cyber crimes take place and how you can prevent the same from being a target. So in this regard, that's why I will be covering malware and ransomware attacks in today's session.
All right, ma'am, let's begin the conversation. You also have a PowerPoint. We can be flashed on the screen for our viewers.
Sure. So before I begin with the session, I will be starting off with some statistics of 2022. So firstly is that a ransomware attack occurs every 2 seconds, and every day around 1.7 million, and every second 19 ransomware attacks occurred. So this makes the average cost of a ransomware attack around $1.85 million in 2022. And this way, the first half of 2022 saw nearly 236.7 million ransomware attacks worldwide. So this created a 51% increase in the ransomware incidents reported in 2022 compared to 2021. Now imagine if this was a 51% increase in the reported incidents, now imagine how many would be unreported. So starting off with the first part of the session, I will be talking about malware attacks. So a malware attack is one of the most important and the most common type of cyber threats. It is an umbrella term that is basically used to, for any type of malicious software that has been designed to either steal your data or to destroy your data on your computer or computer network. Now, there are various types in this regard as to how a malware attack occurs. First is through spyware. Then we have ransomware, we have viruses, trojans, and worms, which will be discussed later on. And lastly is that it is commonly introduced through email attachments, through downloads, or through vulnerabilities in one person's network. Now, coming on to the main aspects of a malware attack. So there are three main aspects. First is the objective, which basically talks about what the malware is designed to achieve. The second aspect is the delivery, as to how the malware is delivered to the target. And the third is the concealment, as to how the malware avoids detection. However, I will be focusing on the first two. So coming on to the objectives of a malware attack, the first is that it steals your data, your credentials, and your payment information. Now, these includes everything to do with your passwords, your bank account information like your credit card details, your debit card details, details regarding your payment gateways, as well as your government IDs. Secondly is they tend to destroy your computer system. Now here, the level of destruction actually depends on the intention of the attacker. So if the intention of the attacker is to just do a little harm, they will use one sort of a malware attack. Whereas if their intention is to destroy more of your computer system, then they will use another sort of a malware attack. And the third objective is to lock up your network and PCs. So this makes your PC completely unusable. And this way they can ask you and demand for ransom money in order to unlock your PC or server. And the last objective is to use your computer as a means to send spam emails. So this way, when investigations are done, the blame will come onto you rather than the attackers, because your account is being used to send spam mails. Now coming on to the second, which talks about types of malware attacks. So as you can see, there are numerous types of attacks. However, I will be focusing on the main 6 types. So first is adware. So an adware attack is to do with everything in relation to your ads and pop-ups that are linked to an unsafe site. So it redirects a user to a similar lookalike site promoting and advertising products which are potentially malicious. So a lot of times what happens is when you open up a website and in a website you see a pop-up wherein it's telling you that if you press on this link, you can get a free iPhone. Now this particular pop-up is actually linked to a fake apple.com website. So the moment you click on the link, it will take you to a website which looks exactly like Apple's website. And the moment you put in your payment information or your details, your computer will be hacked. And they can easily download malware onto your computer as well as steal your information. The below image shows how these kind of pop-ups look like when you open any sort of a website. Then coming on to spyware. So a spyware is how an attacker monitors a user's online activities and browsing habits without their consent. So this way they collect your financial details and login credentials. So if sometimes you click on a malicious link, this gives access to the attacker to your desktop or your PC. So this way, when you go onto a bank's website and you try to log in through your user ID and your password, the attacker can easily see your password and your user ID and further use it to take the money out of your account. So in this way, this is how a spyware is used. Then comes a virus. So the main objective of a virus is to basically delete your important files or to corrupt your data by shutting down the device in the middle of use. So a lot of times you must have noticed that your PC suddenly shuts down or you see some certain files missing from your computer. So this means that a virus has been infected in your computer system. Then coming on to Trojans. So Trojans is another sort of a malware which is usually hidden in online games or software. And they basically take control of one person's device. And what they do is they further download malware onto a computer or a mobile device to either delete or steal important data, to monitor online activities or modify files. So a lot of times when we're using our phones, we tend to download certain apps thinking that they are safe. But if you do not verify and see the authentication of these apps, then they can easily download software and malware onto your computers and onto your phone. And this way they can monitor and steal your information. Then coming on to worms. So worms are basically self-replicating type of malware that spread through other computers, and they spread via computer networks, emails, instant messaging services, social networks, removable media, and other channels. So for example, if I get an email wherein which is talking about some really good promotional campaign for a makeup, and that particular email contains worm, and I further send it to one of my friends or a few of my family members thinking that even they shall enjoy this particular offer. So what will happen is this particular worm will be transferred onto their computer and their devices as well the moment they press or open the particular email. So this is how a worm transfers from one computer to another. Then comes scareware. So a scareware is basically used by cyber criminals to scare us into thinking that our computer or smartphones have become infected, to basically convince us to purchase some particular fake application. So looking at the picture below, so the below picture actually shows us 5 warning signs to identify how a scareware looks like. So the first is that it immediately scans your computer for virus. Now what happens is it basically says that you have not given it any action to perform the scan. It does it on its own. So this is the first warning sign. Second is that the pop-up warns you to act fast. It will tell you that you need to act fast because you have viruses downloaded onto your computer, and in order to quickly remove them so that the harm can be detected, please download the following software. Sorry. So yeah, this is another warning sign. Then the third is that the pop-up is dire. It will create some sort of a panic situation for the user. So it will say virus alert in order to get the complete attention of the user. Then the fourth is that the pop-up is hard to close. Now as you can see from the image, the cross sign in the pop-up is very small. This makes it very difficult to close the particular pop-up and the user ends up pressing the link. And the last warning sign is that you've never heard of the software companies. So usually these sort of alerts include brand names or company names of those software companies which you've never even heard about or which don't exist. They're practically malicious or fake names that have been created. Now about a recent case. So in April 2022, Oil India was hit by a malware attack in its field headquarters in eastern Assam. So wherein the hacker had demanded $7.5 million. Now after the receipt of the report of the malware threat, the precautionary measures were taken by the company. Now one good thing the company did was it did not attempt to establish any contact with the miscreants. Rather, they actually got in touch with the network management service providers, the antivirus team, as well as they informed the incident to the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, also known as CERTAN. Now coming on to the second part of the session, ransomware attacks. So a ransomware attack is basically another form of a malware attack. Herein, the main objective is to infect a computer or a computer network, wherein it either locks the system screen or locks a user's files. So then in exchange for releasing your particular data, the attacker will ask you for a ransom money that you need to pay. Now for this, there are various attack vectors that I use. The main three are remote desktop protocol, there are phishing emails, as well as flaws in your software. So now coming on to the types of software attacks and ransomware attacks. So the first is locker ransomware. So this malware basically prevents the basic computer processes from functioning. So for example, you may be denied access to your desktop while the mouse and the keyboard will be partially disabled. So this permits you to continue interacting with the ransom demand, but apart from that, the entire PC becomes unusable. The second type is the crypto ransomware. So here the goal is to basically encrypt your vital data like your documents, your videos, your pictures, but it does not interfere with the basic computer functioning. So, and the crypto developers usually include a countdown into their ransom demand. So you will see something like that if you do not pay the ransom demand within this time period, then your data will be deleted. So this is an example of how this crypto ransomware takes place. And the encrypted file basically ensures the victim that they are basically forced to pay the ransom so that even if the malware itself is deleted, they still pay the ransom. Now this particular image shows how a locker ransomware looks like. As you can see on the screen, it says that your computer has been locked, and therefore in order to unlock the computer, you are obligated to pay a fine of $200. And it also gives you a 72 hours timeline. Now here the entire screen is just covered with this ransomware demand, and you cannot use the PC otherwise. So you have to pay the ransomware if you want to use your PC. Coming on to the second example, this is how a crypto ransomware looks like. So herein it says that your personal files are encrypted. And over here, as you can see, it gives you an option to check which files are encrypted by the attacker. So here you can see the moment you press here, it will take you to the list of the documents that have been encrypted. Now coming on to the left side, as you can see that it gives you a date as well as a time by which you're supposed to pay the ransom. And it also includes a countdown. So if you do not pay the ransom within this period, then your files will be deleted. And it further tells you that, you know, in order to obtain the private key, you are supposed to pay 300 USD or 300 euros. And then the attackers will provide you with the private key, which you can use to decipher the encrypted documents. Now for the recent case, as you all must have heard that recently the All India Institute of Medical Science, also known as AIIMS, which is country's most foremost healthcare institution, reported a large cyber hacking as a result of a ransomware attack. And the cyber attack actually caused a huge server outage in the hospital, which disrupted the daily hospital operations like their appointments, their patient registrations, their discharge, and more. But the question arises is, how does one mitigate an active ransomware infection? So if you have been subject to a ransomware attack, the first thing to do is to firstly quarantine your machine. So the machine that has been affected, you should keep it completely away from all your other devices. So if you have another computer or if you have another phone with you, you should keep it completely away from the infected device so that it does not infect the other devices. Then second is to leave the computer on. So the encryption of files, usually what it does, it makes the computer unstable. So when you power off the computer, there are high chances that it can result in the loss of the documents. So you should always keep the computer on in order to maximize the probability of recovery. Then the third step is to create a backup, because decryption of files can sometimes be possible even without paying the ransom. But to do that, you should make a copy of the encrypted files on another removable device like a pen drive, so that if another future solution becomes available, you can try it on the backup files to see if it actually works or not, and then use it on the actual encrypted files. Then the fourth is to check for decryptors. Now, Online there are a lot of data available. Similarly, you can easily find a free decryptor which you can use to decrypt your files that have been encrypted. So check to see that if a decryptor works, and if you end up finding a good decryptor, then you can use that on the backup copy that you made to see if it actually works. Then the next is to ask for help, because the digital forensic experts main work is to decrypt and encrypt data. So they specifically specialize in this area, and they may be able to recover those files which are which are copied and stored on a computer if they haven't been deleted by the malware. So they can help you recover those files. And lastly is wipe and restore. You should always restore the machine from a clean backup, because this actually ensures that the malware is completely removed from your device. Then coming on to the cyber safety for parents as well as children. So the first are the do's. So you need to firstly learn how to identify the potential malware. So it is very important to identify how a phishing email looks like and how an unknown application running on a system can be identified. Second is that if a child uses email, then the parents should talk to them and ensure that they know the email of their of their teachers and their peers. This way, if they end up having an email from an unknown person, they can immediately ignore it and they can come and report it to you so that you can take further action as to either deleting the email or reporting it as spam. And the third is to keep the social media account set to private and explore other settings. So this is not just for children, but it is for everyone, that you should always keep your social media account set to private. And there are numerous security measures that have been put in place by different social media accounts, which one can take as to ensuring the privacy and the security of their accounts. Then coming on to the don'ts, the first is don't download any unknown software or app, because a lot of times before downloading, we never check the authentication of the app and whether the owner is a verified company, and we just download it without thinking. This can cause the attackers to download malware onto your computer or your mobile screens. Then the second is don't open unknown attachments or links in suspicious emails, because this is the foremost important step. Because the moment you get an email from any unknown person, even if it's a brand telling you some giving you promotional emails and offers, do not press the link. Rather, go on the website, the actual website, or the app of the particular brand and see if the offer is actually available. Otherwise, you will tend to download malware or virus onto your computer or your mobile phones. And lastly is don't provide personal information to anyone through the internet. This is especially for the children, because children play a lot of online games and then they tend to make a lot of friends online. However, what they don't know is that what one person looks online is completely different from what they might be in actual reality. So in this way, giving them your personal information like your name, your email, your phone number, even your password, your house address, or if banking information if the child has access to, it can cause a lot of issues. So therefore, like, you should teach the children never to share any personal information on the internet. Now coming on to the best practices. So first best practice is for the schools and the parents, which they can use, which are periodic unannounced exercises such as intentional phishing campaigns. So you can do these phishing campaigns to teach the children how not to click on websites. So you can send them an email and see how many children actually click an unknown link from an unknown email, and then teach them the consequences of the same. Then second is to equip the computers with a good antivirus software. It is very, very important that a computer and as well as your mobile phone has a good antivirus software installed. Because what these softwares do is prevent you from accessing any site that might be malicious. They also help you remove any sort of a virus or malware that might have been installed in a document or a picture that you tend to download. Thirdly is use multi-factor authentication to protect your accounts. So a lot of these social media accounts have multi-factor authentication in place. Taking the example of Gmail. So Gmail has a multi-factor authentication wherein if I open my Gmail account on some other laptop, then I will get a notification on my phone. So wherein only if I accept saying that, I have opened this Gmail account on this computer and it is me, only once I verify it, only then will I be able to open the Gmail account. So this prevents some other person from opening your Gmail account on any other desktop until unless you give the approval. So similarly, there are a lot of other multi-factor authentication like OTPs, which other social media websites like Instagram, WhatsApp, and even Facebook, they have put in place. So you should always use these factors. Then the fourth is always keep the systems updated because it is very important to keep your system updated because this helps avoid any loopholes that might have been left in your system. Because a lot of times what we tend to do is whenever we see a system upgrade, we tend to either ignore it or we are very lazy to do it at that particular time and we think we'll do it later and then keep skipping it. This leaves the entire period of the upgrade till the notification leaves it for the attacker to actually attack your system through these loopholes. Then comes employ strong and complex passwords. So your passwords should never be in relation to your name, your family's name, your pets, or anything that can be connected to you. They should always be very different and complex using numbers, symbols as much as you can. Then the next point is to change your passwords regularly. So you should always change your passwords every 2 to 3 months, especially for those important apps like your payment gateways, your bank accounts, even your email IDs and your Gmail accounts. You should always change their passwords regularly. And you should never keep your passwords or save your passwords electronically. Keep a diary wherein you keep updating the password, but don't keep it in a particular file because this way, in case your laptop or your device gets hacked, your passwords will be gone with them. And the last is to back up your important files using the 3-to-1 rule, wherein you make 3 copies of your backup and save 2 of those in your PC but at completely different location. So you can put one in hard disk A, the second one in hard disk B, wherein the actual files are in hard disk C. And then the third copy you should always keep in a separate location. For example, you can keep it in a pen drive or a hard disk. Then how does one identify a phishing email? So the first is to check the grammatical and spelling errors. So as you can see here, the spelling of features has been spelled differently. It is not the right spelling. Secondly, coming on to the grammatical errors, as you can see after Office 365, a comma, there's a space between the comma and the 5. This shows a grammatical error. So when a company like Outlook, Paytm or Facebook, they send you an email, they will never have any grammatical or spelling errors. So this is the first way of identifying that it is a phishing email. Then coming on to the second image, as you can see that the image of PayPal is fuzzy. This is another reason to identify how a phishing email looks like because the images will never be fuzzy if an actual PayPal email is sent to you. Then the second is aggressive wording. These sort of emails will always have aggressive wordings like important notice, urgent step required or urgent action required. And then another way to figure out phishing email is by impersonal greetings. So as you can see, it's just written warning or it will be written dear guest or dear user. They will never use your specific name because what they do is they send these sort of an email to multiple and thousands of people just to even so that even if like 5 to 10 people press the link, then their work is done. So in this regard, they will never use your personal name. Then the next is it will include a thread. it will always say that if you do not perform this action within this stipulated time, or if you do not update your banking information, then your account will be deleted. So these kind of threats will always be there. But in actuality, when a brand like PayPal sends you an email, they will never include a threat in it. Then the next is hovering over links that reveals not the correct domain. So as you can see here, they're telling you to press a link. So the main purpose of a phishing email is to entice you into clicking a link. So this way they will keep telling you that you have to click this link for some or the other reason. They will keep attracting that particular link so that you press it at some or the other point. So the main thing is to ignore the link and to never press the link from an unknown person. How do you report a malware and ransomware attacks? So the first is the Certens 6-hour reporting timeline. So now this particular timeline and this notification only relates to all the service providers, intermediaries, data centers, body corporates, and government organizations. So they must mandatorily report all the cyber incidents to Certen within 6 hours of noticing such incidents. And such incidents can be reported either through Certen's mail, phone number, or their fax. Then is the cybercrime reporting portal. So cybercrime.gov.in is the main cybercrime reporting portal in India. And the offense of malware as well as ransomware is punishable under Section 66 of the Information Technology Act 2000, which actually puts in 3 years of imprisonment as well as fine and both. When a person or when you in particular are hit by a malware or a ransomware attack, you can report the same on the portal through different heads such as data theft, ransomware, virus, worms and trojans, denial of service, or distributed DOS. So whichever particular head relates to your crime that has occurred to you, you can press on that. Then comes the 1930 financial fraud helpline number. So lastly, the singular objective of this particular platform is to prevent the defrauded money from exiting the financial ecosystem, and so that it does not end up in the hands of the fraudsters. So in order to report, a 24-hour timeline is given. So you have to report the incident within 24 hours of occurrence. And this particular platform has actually been made operational by the Indian Cyber Coordination Center, also known as 14C. And it actually has the actual support and cooperation of the Reserve Bank of India, all other major banks, payment gateways, and online merchants. So when you call on this helpline number, they will quickly create your online complaint on the cybercrime reporting portal, and further they will convey the message to the concerned bank so that if the transaction has not already occurred, then they can try and stop the transaction before the money exits from your account. So these three are the main ways of reporting a particular cybercrime, especially in relation to malware and ransomware. So I really hope the session was insightful for all of you.
Yes, that you have mentioned in the conversation, our viewers will take a note of that. And ma'am, we still have around 15 to 20 minutes left in the conversation and a set of questions. So if you would like to tell our viewers anything else, then you may, or we might proceed with our questions.
No, I think you can proceed with the questions. I think that will be helpful.
All right. So, ma'am, as we are discussing about combating cyber crimes, so when we discuss about ransomwares or malwares, the first question that might reflect in the minds of our viewers, I think it would be, how can we identify whether our systems or desktops are infected with malwares? What are some of the strategies or the tips to recognize it there itself?
So there are basically numerous ways one can, identify that they have been hit by a malware attack. First can be that, your computer has become completely slow or inoperable. Like whenever you're doing any sort of a task or you press on a website, it takes ages to load. So this is one of the ways you can identify. Then the second is that you're having a lot of problems shutting down your computer or even starting up your computer. So if you're having problems with that, that is also another sign. Then even frequent pop-ups, when you're visiting any sites, if you see multiple pop-ups coming every time you open any site, then that means that there is some sort of a malware that is trying to come into your system. Then even excess of storage or loss of storage. Because a lot of time what happens is the attacker, they either try to delete data from your computer system, or they try to install some sort of a software. So if you notice that a lot of storage has been missing from your computer system, or suddenly you have gotten a lot of storage into your computer, that is also another sign. Then there is also that there is unknown internet activity in your computer. So when you check your computer history, if you see, 10 to 15 different websites have been opened, wherein you had never accessed such websites, then that means that, someone else has access to your computer system, and this way they are operating your computer. Then there is also that, there is change in browser setting, and even the antivirus has been switched off. So these are the first two things an attacker does when they get access to your computer system. They quickly change your browser settings and they turn off your antivirus, so that it creates more possibility for you to enter into phishing websites and phishing sites, and in order for you to press malicious links so that they can get access to your computer.
Thank you so much to responding that question. Ma'am, as we discussed it with regard to desktops and laptops being hit by malware attack. So we have another query. When we talk about mobile phones, our mobile devices that we almost carry everywhere and every time, I should say nowadays. So can they also be attacked by any sort of ransomware or malware attacks? Is it possible?
Yeah, so as you rightly said, because we carry our phones everywhere with us, so our phones actually have more data than our desktop or our PC, because we have all our information regarding our shopping history, our search history, even our GPS tracking, as well as our financial details. Everything is onto our phone. And what happens is the softwares that have been downloaded into a computer, when you buy them, is not as secure in a phone. So this basically attracts the attackers more towards mobile phones. And another thing is that as I had explained before as well, that a lot of times we end up downloading a lot of apps and softwares onto our phone, thinking that it's much safer than a laptop or a PC. But rather, if we don't verify it and don't see the authentication of the particular app, then this actually attracts a lot of malware onto your particular app. That's why when you go to a Google Play Store, or even when you go to Apple's app Store, and you press on a particular app, it actually shows you that what all things and what all data a particular app is going to be collecting from you once you download it. So you must ensure that the app is not collecting unnecessary data which is not actually required. And another thing is, when you after downloading an app, it actually asks you that whether you want to allow the particular app to track you. And the moment you reject it, it will completely disallow the app to track you in any sort of a way. So keeping in mind all these aspects, phones are actually more of a target than the computer systems for a malware or a ransomware attack.
And ma'am, of course, I would like to highlight this aspect that the session has turned out to be very beneficial and interesting for our viewers, as I could witness that there are a number of beautiful comments pouring in the comment section of our YouTube channel, that's NCRT Official. So a lot of viewers have their queries itself. We might be taking them towards a later segment of the session. As of now, ma'am, I would like to ask you, why is it so hard to identify these ransomware perpetrators or cyber criminals? Why is it not an easy task to do?
So, like, the first reason is because these perpetrators actually use cryptocurrency as a sort of payment. And cryptocurrency, as you all know, is a decentralized currency. So, tracking is very difficult in these because they don't leave any digital footprint. Or even if they do, they are so hard to track. So, this creates the entire money trail difficult to track from the user till the attacker. And another point is that because of the availability of so many open source codes and open source tools in the internet, it has actually accelerated the number of ransomware attacks and the types of ransomware attacks that have increased. So this way, this is actually creating this never-ending cycle of ransomware attacks.
And ma'am, let's assume a situation. Suppose I am a person whose device, any system, any laptop is being hit by any malware attack. Now, what should be my first step when I identify that there has been something wrong with my device that contains all my personal credentials or my information, maybe regarding credit cards? So, what should be the first go-to step? Should I pay the ransom? What will you suggest?
So, theoretically speaking, even the law enforcement and agencies and all, they urge everyone not to pay the ransom because this just motivates, the attackers to put into play more ransom attacks. But in actuality, most and majority of the people do pay the ransom. And nowadays, if you see that organizations are actually coming up with this need to pay ransom security plans, wherein they are keeping separate cryptocurrencies and bitcoins as well as money separate, so that in future, if they are hit by a ransomware attack, they can pay it. But in my opinion, I will always say that you should never pay the ransom because of, like, you can say four broad reasons. So the first is that you may never get the decipher key. So in order to decrypt your data that has been encrypted by a ransomware attack, you need a decipher key. So the moment you pay the ransom, you are giving the entire control to the attacker. Now it is up to the attacker whether he pays the ransom or whether he gives you the decipher key or not. The second is that it actually you could get repeated ransom demands. So when you pay once, then the attackers will feel that you can pay twice and thrice. So they can keep asking you for money instead of giving you the decipher key. And another point is that you are likely to be a target in the future. Because once you pay the ransom, the attackers know that you are a person who will pay once you are hit by a ransomware attack. So in future, rather than going to a new user, they will try to um, attack your system and your PCs because they know that you will pay the ransom. So that's why it is always advised to never pay the ransom and always contact the appropriate authorities who can actually take the necessary and immediate action for you.
And ma'am, one last question I would like to ask you. Ma'am, how can we protect our devices? How can we ensure that all the best practices are being done by us? For example, I have a mother back at home. So my mother is only using laptop or maybe mobile phones to connect with people. So she might assume that I'm not doing any work related to my company or maybe something else. That's why she might not be very aware of the fact of being safe online or in a cyberspace. So your piece of advice to everyone, and also how what all strategies that we can follow to keep our devices safe.
As I had explained earlier as well, like the first thing is to use multi-factor authentication, which a lot of apps have. So using just not just your password, but also OTP to log into certain apps, like especially your Gmail accounts, your banking informations. That is one. Then another is that you should always keep a backup of your devices and backup of your data. Then also to never share your personal information online, to never press a malicious link or an email from an unknown person. So a lot of these factors once come together will actually help you create a strong and protected network. And if you have parents at home who are old and who are not aware of these sort of cybercrime, then it is very important that you also educate them. You learn and you educate yourself first about how these cybercrimes are happening, and then you further tell them as to how they can prevent the same. So if they get any sort of a fraudulent call, they know exactly how to identify and how to avoid such situations.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable time and the precious insights that you have shared with our viewers with regard to our today's conversation on combating cybercrimes. Thanks a lot. Meanwhile, I would like to inform our viewers, as a lot of you have been asking in the comment section of NCRT official, how you can access these programs and also how you can register yourself for our activities. So here are a few go-to steps, and these are the quick steps that you can just try on your own. Now just have a look. This is CIET website. So if you would like to connect with us, if you would like to know more about our programs, then all you have to do is type www.ciet.nic.in. So once you land on this page, you will see that there are three kinds of activities: current activity, completed activity, then the upcoming activity. Here you can get information about the areas that have already been covered, or I should say the previous training programs or maybe the activities conducted by CIET and CRT. Then here is current activity. As I informed you that we are running these programs regarding combating cyber crimes, we have our 4 broader sessions right from 1st of February till 17th of February. It's for 4 days. So the dates are as follows. 1st February we already had it. 3rd of February, that's today, we discussed on ransomware and malware attack, and on day 3, that will be on 10th of February, we will discuss more on phishing and financial frauds, and on day 4 it will be all about online sexual abuse on 17th of February. Okay, then you want to get more details, just click on this link. So here all the details regarding what is Cyber Jaagrookta Diwas, how is it being celebrated. As you all know, for the month of February 2023, CIET NCRT has planned sessions on the theme combating cyber crimes. So cyber criminals are constantly evolving and devising new methods to exploit vulnerabilities to steal valuable data from your devices. So they look to exploit human behavior, their emotions, and despite having best-in-class defense systems and measures in place, many have been a contributing factor behind many data breaches. So cybersecurity awareness is very important, and just towards the extreme left, if you have a look, we can see that there is a broader banner that talks about the dates, the topics, and the days when we are going to discuss on these aspects. So once we scroll down, we'll get to know the objective of these 4 programs that have been designed specifically for our viewers on combating cyber crimes, so that you all get to understand the critical characteristics of information security and combating cyber attacks. Also, capacity building focused on combating cyber crimes, recognizing the values of cyber responsibility and the safety in the digital age. Then also, so that we can make you aware of different kinds of cyber threats, to draw your attention to security and heighten awareness of potential threats and vulnerabilities, and at the same time enhancing the importance of protecting data, information and systems. So when we talk about our activities, you all can participate in our live sessions. You can share your queries, your feedback and your messages with us. Whether it's students, teachers, teacher educators, parents, administrators, general public, you all can connect with us. Now here, as our viewers have been asking in the comment section, for any reason if you haven't watched any of these sessions, then here the links are uploaded once we have conducted our sessions. So as you can see, on day 1 that was conducted on 1st of February 2023, we discussed on cyber crimes, the concept and need for awareness. So we were joined by our 3 esteemed resource persons, the banner followed by the video link. So once you click on the video link, you will be directed to the video of that particular session, and simultaneously for the second day we will be uploading the videos, and for the following days as well. Now we have certain steps through which you can register for our activities and you can participate in our sessions. The step 1 is registration. So you can register yourself by clicking on the link that's in blue, it's accessible, or either by scanning the QR code that is being displayed on your screens. Also, you can watch the live panel discussion through various mediums. One of them is our YouTube channel NCERT Official. Another one is you can watch it live on eVidya channel number 6 to 12. Then here are different mediums through which you all can connect with us. Then you can participate in the post-session activity. and a certification. Let me also apprise you that the post-session quiz will be conducted based on the 4 sessions listed in the program schedule. So there will be a quiz and the link of the quiz will be released at the end of the 4th session. As I apprised, it's on 17th February. So to get a certificate, participate and score 70% and above. Participants are allowed to take only one attempt at the quiz. I am emphasizing it again, you are just allowed to take one attempt. So let it be a good one, and the certificate will be issued in the next 15 days. So it will be launched on 17th of February 2023. You all can mark the dates, and of course your feedback matters a lot, so you can submit your feedback through this Google form that is there right on your screens. Then again, if you have any of the queries, you know that we have our mail ID cybersafety@ciet.nic.in. Besides, you can also connect with us or you can give us a call at our number that is flashing on your screens. It is 8800440559. So it's around 5, and let me quickly wrap up this conversation for all of you with an important announcement. We are proud that India assumed the G20 presidency and will convene the G20 Leaders Summit for the first time in the country in 2023. The nation is deeply committed to democracy and multilateralism. India's G20 presidency would be a watershed moment in its history, as it seeks to play a very major role by finding pragmatic global solutions for the well-being of everyone, and in doing so, manifesting the true spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, or the world as one family. Thanks a lot to our today's guest Arushi madam, and thanking all our viewers who have connected for this particular conversation. Stay tuned. Next up we have our special segment of Sahyog, guidance for mental well-being and psychosocial support for all the students and viewers watching our session. So keep watching eVidya channels and take very good care of yourself. Namaskar.